Go. What? Is there a button?
No button.
Can you hear me?
No.
Okay, okay. How's that? I'd like to tell a story of collaboration, one that's become very important to me, and one for which I'm really thankful for what Tom has brought to Mission House. The sense that this was never a one-sided operation. No, still can't hear. How's that?
That's better.
Better?
Yeah.
All right, I can talk like that. Imagine here, around the late 1820s, Reverend Hiram Bingham sitting in his study, sitting with his books, and on his table he's got a number of books open. He's got a Greek New Testament because he's been very well trained in Greek and Hebrew at Andover Seminary. He's got a copy of the Tahitian translation of the Bible, which he can get through. He's got a copy of a Latin New Testament, and he is trying to take the language of this Greek New Testament and put it in a language that will be meaningful to his Hawaiian congregation. Well, his Hawaiian at this point is functional. He can say what he needs to say. He can ask basic questions. He can communicate basic ideas. But it's not rough. It's not elegant. It's not appealing. And he wants a Bible that is going to be appealing to his Hawaiian congregation, who will hear it and feel the same things that he feels when he reads his Greek New Testament or he reads his King James New Testament or Bible. So he's sitting at his desk. He writes out his draft translation, nice, clean, clear handwriting, and he brings in his advisor, his language advisor. He had a number of them. One of them was Ioane Papa'i'i, or John Papa'i'i. And he brings in EE and asks him to read it over. And EE takes his pen, looks at the draft translation that Reverend Bingham has put together, and begins crossing out probably about 2 out of 3 words, and starts fixing them and changing them, and says, "How's this?" And Reverend Bingham looks back at it and says, "Well, does that mean this? Does that say this? What's the effect of this?" And they go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until the verse is the way that they think it's right. Now, imagine this going on for 30,000 verses over a period of 12 years, involving virtually all of the seminary-trained missionaries and a cadre of the elite educated chiefs and advisors of Hawaii, because both of them wanted to produce a Bible that would be meaningful. Now, we have forgotten sometimes today just how important the Bible was in the life both of New Englanders and in Hawaiians at this particular time. For many people, it was the book. You can find an echo of this today in Ni'ihau, where many people in Ni'ihau, it is really the only book that they use, and they read it constantly. It is a textbook. It is a language tutor. It is the book of stories. It is a source of inspirations and songs. And for people in Hawaii, this was still very much true at this time. It became clear that missionaries, at a very early point, that missionaries by themselves could not make an effective translation of the Bible. Now, I know most folks here are probably descendants of missionaries, and the story of the Bible has been told by missionary descendants, and missionary descendants, are kids like every other kids, they love their parents and they tell good things about their parents, or mostly tell good things about their parents. And the story about the Hawaiian Bible was that a handful of missionaries came to Hawaii, took their Hebrew and Greek texts out, put out this beautiful Hawaiian document, and it has been the Hawaiian Bible ever since. And that's, we can't underplay the element, the part of the scholarship that missionary translators had. They were the elite educated people of their country. They were the best trained scholars in the world in biblical languages at the time, taking advantage of new scholarship that had come in all the English-speaking world, had come to the seminary that most of them went to. But they couldn't do it by themselves any more than John Papa'i'i could do it by himself. He had no access to Hebrew texts. He had no access to Greek dictionaries. To this day, there are no such things in Hawaiian. So he was an expert in Hawaiian, knew thousands of mele, thousands of hula, could recite hours on end if the requirement was necessary, had learned word lists and categories from the days of the youth, knew genealogies, stories, was a master of all things related to Hawaiian language, and yet he couldn't do it either. A decision was made in Kailua in 1826 on Hawaii Island that it was time to really begin translating the Bible, and a team of experts, missionary experts, along with Hawaiian experts, high chiefs, Kaka Olelo, advisors to high chiefs, the governor of Hawaii Island, the governor of Maui Island, John Papa'i'i from here in Honolulu, David Amalo from Hawaii Island, Kelo Kamakau from Ka'avaloa on Hawaii Island. They began consistent work to produce the Gospel of Matthew, and they produced a part of the Gospel of Matthew after a number of weeks of meeting, and then split it into a number of teams, each missionary translator together with a Hawaiian language advisor, and passing these texts back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Over a period of 12 years, the Hawaiian Bible emerged. And the result is really a remarkable one. It is an improbable achievement, an embrace of two cultures that really was impossible on one side alone. Mrs. Pukui, Mary Kovena Pukui, has remarked, and several others, is that the Hawaiian Bible is beautifully done. It is the language of the chiefs as it was understood in the 1830s and 1840s, the way one chief would speak to another. The choices of new words were carefully calculated. No English words allowed. New words had to come from Hebrew or Greek or Latin, or better yet, from combinations of older Hawaiian words, so that many words that have entered the language and are used literally in every conversation today were the result of those conversations and the Bible that emerged from them. One other result I'd like to just mention briefly is that the Bible in Hawaiian was not just a good translation that sits up on our shelves, and those of us who learn Hawaiian really should look at it. It was my textbook when I lived in California, in the desert of California, and I was trying to learn Hawaiian. The Bible was the only Hawaiian book I had, and was, as I was a biblical scholar by training, kind of amazing about how they could take these difficult Hebrew and Greek sentences and map them into a language that was so different. But the Bible served another function. I have a picture on a lecture that I give here with slides. Imagine a luakini, the old human sacrifice temple dedicated to Ku. Imagine those walls. That's a luakini. Chiefs brought priests and the people, and kahuna sacrifices took place there, and Ku Ka'ilimoku was placated in order to achieve the things that a particular chief might need. That's a luakini. On the lower side, just below that, imagine a church, much like Kawaiaha'o Church. Guess what that's called in Hawaiian? It can be called a halepule, but it can also be called a luakini. The mapping of the old religion, the old gods, the old ways, the old terminology was, after much resistance, mapped into the Christian religion, the Hawaiian conception of the Christian religion. Kahuna, who were experts in various areas, sometimes religion, became priests. Pastors became kahuna pule. Kaola, who were a type of prophetic character, became the biblical prophets. And word after word after word mapped from what people were familiar with to what was new, and served as a bridge from one era to another, not canceling out ancient Hawaiian religion, but finding ways to map it in, to incorporate what was in what could be incorporated. In some ways, a baptism of old religious vocabulary to serve new Christian purposes. Anyway, if you're interested in this research, our new journal, Pala, has a longish article on this. But I would like, as I come here, I like to think of that story of Reverend Bingham, John E.E., sitting there working out, negotiating the culture, negotiating the language, coming up with something that was going to be invaluable, not just to them, to their congregation, but to the entire history of Hawaii. And I really would like to particularly thank Tom for emphasizing this aspect of collaboration, of how this has worked and how this was so important in the history, not of the mission, but in the whole history of Hawaii. Thank you.